I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
That's Sori.
Yeah. Where's Boo?
Where's my guy? Booby.
I'm just gonna call him Boo.
Well, first of all, it's a woman. It's a young lady.
It's even more awkward.
Booby, what's the problem?
You also gonna get a male one and call it Dick, or?
What? His name isn't Richard. Why would I do that?
Okay. Well, anyway.
Doesn't make any. Oh, you're ridiculous.
Coming.
You are ridiculous. That's why
I feel terribly sick from that pregnancy today.
That's why the Lord afflicted you with all that sickness, because of your terribleness.
I had a really good burn, but I'm just gonna keep it to myself.
Mm-hmm. Burn. You sound like the kids. Isn't that what the kids say?
I spend a lot of time with children. Yeah, that's what the kids say.
All right. Well, this is Rammstein Ich tu dir weh, which translates to I hurt you, I believe. So
this is the song that the baby is singing to me.
Like I said, blame Allah. He's the one that's afflicted you.
Ugh.
Ready?
Yep. Go.
Du schlägst mir dann ins Gesicht. Du bist mir ganz untergeben. Du liebst mich, denn ich lieb dich nicht. Du bist für mein Seelenheil. Ein kleiner Schnitt und du wirst klein. Der Körper schaut total entstellt. Egal, dein Haupt ist zum Eichen. Stirbst du doch, dann lebst du weiter. Bist du wilde, harte Schläge. Nadelfackeln, stumpfe Säge. Wünscht euch was, ich sag's nicht nein. Und für Gnade die rein. das Schiff, ich der Schaff, die hin. Wohin soll denn die Reise gehen? Ich seh im Spiegel dein Gesicht. Du liebst mich, denn ich lieb dich nicht. Ich tu dir weh, tut mir nicht leid. Das tut dir gut. Ich tu dir weh, will nicht leid. Das tut dir
Rammstein always has like these. It's the same thing that happened with the thing with the butcher and the guy was eating the girl.
It's a gross topic when your like stomach is already upset. Like, what?
I need a heavy metal
What?
band that can talk about relationships and sexuality in a way that's not dark and twisted.
Whoa, that's what we're talking about? I thought we were talking about some robot. And the guy was like experimenting and making the robot. This is talking about a relationship? What the hell? This just got worse. This just got a really weird twist. Scroll up to the top. Are you sure? Why are you looking at me like that? Well, this will be an interesting conversation if this is about sexuality. I put medals on your face and you're entirely devoted to me.
You love me because I don't love you.
Yeah. He created him.
You bleed for my salvation.
Huh?
A small cut and you're horny.
That was weird. I just didn't get.
I hurt you. I'm not sorry.
Wow, this is disgusting.
The urethral tract. It's a pretty intricate robot. Put your flesh.
It's literally so disgusting. I don't know. What do you? Oh my gosh, this song is really fucking nasty because I'm just realizing some of the lines here. That's really gross.
I don't understand how you could. I mean, you reacted to some of the lyrics.
Because it was just gross sounding. You know?
Where did you get robots?
Because it said that I put metals into your face.
Metals, MEDALS. Not metals, METALS.
I just thought it was a typo. I don't even understand what that could possibly mean.
Neither do I. I mean, I don't know. It's a loose translation, or maybe there's some German reference point that we're not familiar with.
Wow. You know, this one's too far for me. All those sexual songs, I'm like, I usually like them, but this one is just disgusting.
Yeah, this is pretty.
This is really sick, man. Did you see this one? That's so gross.
Insert rodents into you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we're at the edge of depravity here. It's pretty depraved. What's interesting to me is that you're reacting more to this than to the guy eating the other person. There's one where he was eating her, and remember, like.
Yeah.
The My Part song, I think is the name of it.
Yeah, well.
Why? What? I mean, the cannibalism. I don't.
Because.
I feel sick right now.
Because,
sure.
Honest to goodness, I think that there are more people that would do this grossness then would eat somebody, like literally eat somebody's flesh.
Well, apparently people were telling me later, like, that was a true story, like, that shit happened. Like, he really put that shit out there in the classified section. Yeah, that story is like a real story in Germany.
I really don't remember it very much. Would he ate the person?
Yeah, he ate the person ate him, or something like that.
That's gross.
I feel sick. I feel pretty sick myself right now.
Yeah,
The chorus is beautiful though. I like the chorus. But
the way it sounds sonically is. I love sonically what it sounded like. When it was going, I was like, oh yeah, and then like you like pointed that the lyrics were up, and so I was like, oh, and then I started reading them, like, what?
Yeah.
I just thought it was just something really I just thought that he was just like kind of like created this like half robot, half human, and then he was just
he says it
like tormenting it for his own pleasure. When it said the rodent part, I thought that was like, you know, like they'll say like they would put like rodents in a cage and like put it up against somebody's belly.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was like something like that. Like I didn't know that any of this had anything to do with sexuality. Like I didn't even go there with any of this. Like I think it's pretty gross, but like on top of that, I'm already really nauseated. So like hearing it, I'm just like,
I am also nauseated.
wow.
It does bring up an interesting question, which is this whole concept of consent, is the fact that somebody will allow you to do something to them, does that give you carte blanche to do it?
No, I don't think so.
Well, of course, from our worldview,
No.
The answer is no.
You need to honor people. People need to honor each other. This person, this young man is not honoring this woman, or vice versa. I mean, who knows which one is which?
Right.
And it's a man singing, so that's why I'm saying that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a clear, and there's a lot of these relationships where it's a strange thing. Like, it's a very strange thing when it comes to sexuality and violence. Because if you were to take some of these violent acts and then put them in a non-sexual context, people would say it's abuse.
Yeah.
You smack somebody and like if you were walking down the street and you saw some dude smack a girl and then choke her, you'd be like, motherfucker,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then if it's sexual and she consents to it, now all of a sudden it's okay. So it's a strange. I was, listening to this biologist. I forgot the guy's name is Alec. Remind me of the guy's name, but he was talking about the complexity of human relationships and how some things are okay and some things aren't, and navigating that is like we are like light years above other primates. I mean, this guy believes, the whole naturalistic, he spiel, hook, line, and sinker, but. He was marveling about how advanced we are by like light years ahead of other primates in our ability to pivot with these strange relationships. So like this is one of the ones where he's cutting her, he's beating her up, barbed wire, whips,
man.
Salt,
Pus?
yeah, barbed wire in the.
I don't even know why.
Yeah, I think some of this is like this has got to be.
This is
hyperbole. Like I don't think this happens in real life.
That rodent thing does.
What?
What do you mean what?
Barbed wire in the urethral tract. I don't think that happened.
That you're wrong. I mean,
That's obviously.
I don't think that they're putting it up in
It
there.
says
but,
in.
well,
There's
maybe
no way that doesn't. I just think that's an exaggeration, but it does bring up this very, very interesting and challenging question of.
I mean, there's got to be people that get into relationships like this, and like the girl like really wants, some crazy I like a little bit crazy. I think is okay. But this level, this is too much.
Yeah, and they would say, "Who are you to draw those lines?" And I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you, and I just think, in the world that we're in, particularly the Western world, I think we have to.
When it sounds like you're freaking torturing somebody, these are all things.
Right.
Bites, kicks, hard blows,
pliers,
one saw. I mean, what the hell? This is like.
But that's why I said, like, some of this is hyperbolic. There's no way that this is actually happening
Well, I don't
in a consensual context. But like,
think that you're wrong, but
I think that, you know, we got to really have some like hard conversations, like socially with each other about. Okay, even if a person consents to something, what are the lines and how do you build those lines?
Yeah, I don't.
Let's
yeah.
say the person consents to you killing them.
Yeah,
Should you be able to do that because the person consented to it?
it's ridiculous.
You know, people say, well, killing's against the law. Right. Like, that's my question. Is like, morally speaking, just because a person, and then it's kind of like, you know, there's obviously emotional trauma this person's gone through.
Both parts.
Because he says, you love me because I don't love you.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at Rammstein for writing this, because I think it's like one of the probably the biggest misconceptions about the channel is that if I say this is really fucked up or this is really terrible, we believe in the doctrine of original sin. So anything, you know, and people always try to soften the blow by saying, it's not literal, you're over-literalizing it. Not realizing that art imitates life.
Yeah.
And so, even if they're not being literal about it, and it doesn't matter how much you say, but we're going to say it again for the 9 millionth time, even if the artist isn't literal about this, or wanting to do this, or having taken part in this, it does say something about human nature.
Right. To even.
So I'm not saying that.
Oh shoot.
Did you break it?
No, I just dumped tea everywhere.
I'm not saying that the artist is irredeemably bad. What I'm
Right.
saying is it does say something about the necessity of redemption of human beings. We need to be redeemed from something in our worldview.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Somebody's gonna say, you're taking this too literally. Alright.
The body already totally distorted.
Yeah, so it my point is it says something about us as human beings, and it says something about who we are, that even though I'm saying that this is hyperbolized, that this is kind of in our culture.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
go
mean
ahead.
what is it? Shades of Grey? I don't know. I can't remember. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey.
50
yeah.
Shades. I knew I was missing a word. It was extremely popular.
Among women.
Yeah, and I know that it wasn't to this degree. I mean, my word. But yeah, that means that it's in our a movie like that wouldn't be popular if that idea
Right, it's
wasn't
something
in
that's
our
going on in
culture.
our consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, it was most popular among women, which, you know, on paper you'd say, oh no, women are going to rebel against this because, you know, it's
Yeah.
this form of male dominance or whatever. And it is kind of like there's the emotional aspect of the person's devoted to me. You love me because I don't love you. And, you know, probably going to get in trouble for this. I don't care. Because, you know, we're a controversial channel, I suppose. But I have seen a lot of situations where, particularly women, seem to be more attractive to destructive men who don't care about them. Leave a little bit of a crumb here and there, but in the main, the men go out of their way to show that the males go out of their way to show they don't care about the girl, and then it makes the girl even more crazy about giving themselves to the guy in any way crazy way possible to kind of win something, you know.
Yeah, I saw it a bunch too.
Yeah, and so you know, you had a certain type of privilege because you're just an incredibly beautiful woman, so you were the exception.
I never had that mindset, if that's what you're
Well, that's
saying.
what I'm saying. I think you never had that mindset because you had certain privileges. You had a different set of challenges.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it was also like things that I was taught growing up. Like I didn't want to be with somebody that didn't make any sense. Why would anybody want to be with somebody that's mean to them or doesn't love them? Like being loved was always super, super important to me. Like I remember being like in kindergarten, and I was starting kindergarten, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder if my husband's going to be in my class. like how many kindergartners are thinking about that.
Yeah.
But when I thought about getting married, it meant unconditional love to me.
Right.
Because I saw like how my dad was with my mom, and like he would always talk about how beautiful she was and how much he loved her, and so I wanted like that sort of relationship.
Do you think though that it's like you didn't have any doubt that there'd be a guy who'd want to love you and fall in love with you and all that?
No, and I thought that everybody was like that.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of girls who don't think that.
No, I think that you're right.
And so
Yeah, no, I think that you're right. I
that
think that I
puts-
just thought that everybody, like, I thought there's somebody for everybody, and it might take longer. I didn't think that it would. I don't know.
yeah, and
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
And I'm not
Yeah.
saying all women. I'm just saying that there just seems to be, and maybe it's just the women that I was around because I grew up in a crazy, chaotic environment. So, it might be one of those things where it's like, Vin, you never strayed from that, and so the people that you grew, you came up with in high school or whatever, you kind of gravitated toward.
Yeah.
That with your friends and so, but I'd see it all the time, and so
Well-
it go ahead.
You're saying that you gravitated toward the type of friends that would have those types of relationships, or you're saying that you gravitated toward those types of relationships? I'm not sure
The
what you're saying.
circle of people that you roll with
Yeah,
come with a certain type of subculture,
yeah.
and so it's like I saw a lot of that in our little subculture.
Yeah,
And so
I
what I'm
saw it
saying-
with my friends too, though.
Well-
I think it's kind of
Well, like I'm trying
obviously
to
didn't have the same kind of.
like apply some self criticism here, because I'm not saying that every woman. What I'm saying is when I grew up, I saw it a ton, and the dudes who would put themselves out there and be nice and say I love you and be emotional and not objectify the girl and didn't put any sexual connotations in the relationship. Girls wanted nothing to do with them. It was the jerk, but none of us went to this degree of.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, honestly, I didn't even know about this stuff in high school. Like, honestly, I just didn't. This is like some next level shit. When I found out about the whole like BDSM thing and people liking to get beaten up and shit like that, like I was like, this is. I didn't know that they were actually human, and I'm not.
I found out when I was in my 20s.
And again, it's like, I think you're right. I think there's a line of people, where you go, oh, that's kind of weird and kinky, and oh, this is really exciting. But this doesn't seem like that to me.
No.
This seems like, even the Shades of Grey, because we saw the movie. It's like it wasn't like he wasn't like this.
No, he wasn't.
So like he had his, but he's portrayed as a guy that had serious
And
issues.
even like one time, like remember that time that like I don't remember, something like bothered him, and then like he took her into the room because he was bothered by something.
Right.
And then she said she didn't like it, and she's like she never wanted to do it in that way again.
Right. That doesn't seem like this type of relationship.
No, I agree.
It's like.
But he was like, I mean, I don't think that. I don't know what you would say. He like really loved her. Like he was really into her. Like initially, I think it was just like she was another one of his.
That's
whatever.
a relationship you'd want for our daughters.
What do you mean? Would I want that type of relationship?
I
No,
mean,
not
that's
initially. No. But
It's not a relationship I'd want my daughters
yeah,
in.
I suppose you're right.
But I
I like that he like he looked out for her and he took care of her and like, and I guess it's like kind of like that creepy thing that I kind of like, maybe, I don't know, like where like he was kind of always like looking over her shoulder to make sure she was good, and then like wasn't that guy like coming after her in the office and then he like busted or something, or did I like remember that differently?
Yeah.
Remember there was somebody trying to assault her or something? Didn't he come in? Did he come in?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was always kind of like
And he's always stalking her and all that shit.
yeah. But at the same time, like, if she was at the store and he was watching her from the bushes, I'd feel weird about that. But I want him to bust in when there's something horrible going on. Anyway.
I'd bust in. You wouldn't even be in that situation.
Because I do YouTube at home.
Alright, I make sure you work with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, it's weird because it's true. Like, there is a subculture of like this type of stuff, but it's like it doesn't. I don't think the majority of it goes to that degree. But then I wonder to myself, like, is the standard too? I mean, I don't wonder. I believe it. I think the standard is way too low. That if you just make everything about consent.
No, I agree.
Oh, they're just adults. Blah
I
blah
agree.
blah. Like, no.
And the thing too
Like-
is that, like, I think that I can't speak for men, but I know that you know, women, especially ones that have been in bad situations, you know, growing up and stuff. I'm saying sexually bad situations, you know, people molesting them and, you know, raping them and different things like that. Like, it changes your mind. Like, your mind is very affected by that. And then, you know, like, when you become an adult, then it's like things are like off. And so I think that I'm not saying that, you know, people that have been through that are beyond repair or anything. I'm just saying that things change inside of you because you've been through that. And then when, like, sometimes, you know, like, if a girl, like, will want the guy to really like them, like, they really want that relationship, they're more likely to just do, you know, I know lots of girls that have had sex with guys, not because they wanted to have sex,
Sure.
but because they wanted that relationship or they wanted that affection and stuff. So, you know, if the guy is into that, you know, and maybe it's the same, like, maybe it's, you can change the sex of this entire discussion, it's the same thing, I don't know, but...
Yeah, that comes from a certain worldview.
Yeah.
That they're equivalent, and they're not in the way that they handle sex and sexuality and how it happens emotionally. I mean, that's science. Men and women handle sexuality completely differently.
And I would think too that, like, you know, generally speaking, a man is stronger than a woman. So a woman who would choose to put herself in this situation is still like,
Well, that's why, like,
dominating.
that's why, you know, people during the whole Kavanaugh thing, they're like, teach your kids about consent, and I'm like, your boy's about consent. And to me, it's like, it's deeper than just consent.
You're
It's like
completely
consent
right.
is such a low bar. So as a person is like consenting to doing this stuff, I would hope my son would be the type of person that say, wait a second, no.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
no, I'm not doing that. Let's talk about what's going on with you. Or
Right.
I'm not really interested in even having a relationship with you. You love me because I don't love you. Like, I think that because, again, we've stripped sexuality of all of its mystery and transcendence.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing you have is consent instead of actual love.
Yeah.
So because you've taken the transcendent value of a human away in our culture, then you don't have any transcendent meaning to sexuality. So now it's like, okay, well, what's the line? Now the line is, well, when you consent. Instead of, it used to be, remember when they had the birds and the bees conversation, it would always start out with, well, when two people love each other.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So we went from that, the conversation has shifted from that
Wow.
to tell your sons about consent.
Man.
No. Like, I want my sons to have a, now look, hear me, I'm
Wow.
not saying I want my sons to have a lower standard than consent.
No.
What I'm saying is a higher standard of
Exactly.
than consent, which includes consent, but is more.
Yeah.
I don't want my sons to just say to themselves, well, if I can get away with it legally, then I'll do it. You know?
No.
I don't want my son ever to have any sort of sexual relationship where he ever has to say, well, you agreed to it. You know?
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't want that for my boys, and I don't want that for our girls, you
That's
know?
a pretty disgustingly low standard to have.
Well, that's what I'm
actually.
like. That's like, this is a thing. Like, we don't, you know, it's that Chesterton quote. Like, if you see guardrails, you know, you better fucking realize why they're there before you get rid of them. And I think in the modern world, we've gotten rid of any sort of, you know, transcendent meaning to sexuality because we're so advanced, and now we have this shit happening.
Yeah.
You know, and again,
Gosh.
like I said, if somebody's a little freaky or different or kinky or whatever, like, I don't know where that line is, you know, that's
Yeah.
really between that couple and Allah, to be honest with you. I just know this stuff right here where you know the person is just doing this because they're chasing you. You love me, but I don't love you. And you know you're hurting them, but you're not sorry because
you're
she's
distorting their body.
because she's consenting. So you're okay. I just think that we've lost our way culturally.
And there's nothing in this about love. The only thing that there is that you love me because I don't love you. Other than that, it's all just torment. And the person is called an it.
Well, yeah. And that's probably
That's
also
really...
Well, I mean, how can you...
But that's where I was thinking it was a robot.
Right. I was going to say that line, But how can you look at the person as anything other than that after that? And I was talking to somebody...
Does you good? I don't know.
I was talking to somebody and they were actually telling me that you can walk by all the soft porn that you see at a convenience store and then, I don't know, indulge on an hour of porn a night and all that, and that won't change the way you look at women. All right, man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mention this.
Or how you engage your wife. Or
I was like, all right, okay. I disagree. There's all these studies about how being when we were on with Jamarl Thomas and he was talking about how being exorbitantly rich actually changes your neuron path of your brain and epigenetic factors and all that. But we can feast our minds on this shit and it won't fuck with you at all as to how you look at women in relationships. Okay, alright. We've all been changed psychologically.
I think the fact that you can think that way means that there's already damage to you psychologically.
Yeah.
Because you should look at that and say, this is terrible.
Right.
That our girls are out for display like that,
Well, and it's one of those things where dudes, they just can't help themselves. We get in a situation and they can help themselves if they would be conscious of the society that they live in. But there's no grounding or basis for even that form of consciousness because, like I said, we've taken transcendence out of the human being. Yeah. Which is what Nietzsche was afraid of. Nietzsche was like, how are we going to do this now? And he's talking about creating the Superman. Well, this is not the Ubermensch that you were thinking about. This is no improvement on Adam and Eve, Mr. Nietzsche.
No. Oh my.
Freud kind of took the, he took the kind of angle that, this is my theory on Freud, is that Nietzsche was kind of like the macro societal underpinning, how are we going to do this thing? And Freud kind of took the sexual angle from Nietzsche's whatever. Mm-hmm. And here we are, But, yeah, so, I don't think that this guy engaged in this stuff. I don't even think that this stuff is real, half of it. But I do think I just don't think so. But I do think it raises an interesting societal question, and I do think
the reason why I'm saying that is because, if I personally know people that haven't done stuff this far, but have done stuff that's how can you, when you know people, it's like when people are like, oh, I'm afraid to die in an elevator. Do you know anybody that's died in an elevator? Neither do I. Do you know anybody that's died on a roller coaster? No, neither do I. There's certain things that you're like, wow, okay, nobody that I know even knows anybody that happened to. But then when you talk about an epidural, of course, because I'm pregnant, that's more than mine. I know lots of girls personally that have had a bad experience with an epidural. So you're like, okay, that happens quite a bit. Okay. So if I'm I actually know personally a handful of people that do stuff beyond what I would do that there is pretty then I'm and that's just people that I know personally. So that means there's got to be people beyond that would go to this level. But I think that you have a very naive look at where things can go.
No, I just think that when people are getting freaky and somebody brings pliers and a saw, that anybody would be like, what the what? We're not doing that. You know?
We're not doing that.
Like, those are instruments of torture. It's like
That's what I'm
outlawed in the
saying,
Geneva
no.
Convention. So I just don't think that I think he's speaking hyperbolically, but he's touching on something that's native to human nature, and that is some sort of dysfunction between.
Oh, is he talking about like cutting parts of their bodies off? I don't think that somebody's actually doing that. Like, unless they're like some really, really crazy psycho, and that would be the major fringe.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
fringe, but a barbed wire in the urethral tract, that's not fringe? That's ridiculous.
I think that-
I just think he's exaggerating this stuff because there's people that you know that are into various forms of pain and things like that. Which again, I don't think there's anything mentally wrong with people that are like particularly kinky or anything like that.
Right.
But I just think I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. You know.
Yeah.
I think that stuff is the stuff where we're like,
Yeah. I think that there's stuff that people would be like, I wouldn't do that we'd be fine with, and then there's stuff that, like, we're like, well, I wouldn't do that, but whatever. But
Right.
then there's some stuff that it's like, okay, you should not saw somebody's freaking arm off. You should not put barbed wire in their urethra. Like,
you
these are
shouldn't
just
do
like...
anything with rodents. What the fuck?
No, you shouldn't. That's absolutely disgusting. And horrible for the
Well,
rodent,
it's
even.
not that it's it's just I don't even understand. Anyway, I'm not having this conversation. I think we've said all we need to say about this topic. What do you give the song?
Oh my gosh, I
Gotta
can't wait
dive
to
out
watch
of
that.
this thing and fix my email. Unbelievable.
Brush my teeth or something.
Yeah, take a
Okay.
shower and bleach. Go ahead.
Right.
What are we giving this song?
I give the sound an 8.9 and the topic a negative 8,059. Because I'm so,
Okay, so what's your
grossed
final
out by
answer?
the topic. That's where I'm leaving it because
It's an 8.5. I felt like the chorus. I don't know. I feel like Rammstein. Sometimes they have a template. They're like, all right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do some soaring vocals. We're gonna do a very simple riff, and then we're just gonna get out of Dodge. And I think in this song they just kind of mailed it in. I don't really feel like there was a lot of like. I don't know. So it's an 8.5. Maybe no, it's an 8. The chorus was great. The chorus kind of saved it.
yeah.
So the chorus saved it, but other than the chorus, I just thought it was just a run-of-the-mill song. So it's an 8.
Did you like it? The topic? Was the topic nice?
No, I didn't like the topic.
Oh.
What do you mean, did I like the topic? Oh, here you go. No, I'm not a fan of the topic. I'm surprised you weren't more of a fan.
No.
I was certain you were
There
gonna
was
be-
nothing sexy
I'm certain
about
you were going
this.
to be like, well...
Nope. No.
Alright. Vin out.
Sorry, Al.
Gone.
Ein kleiner Schnitt und du wirst sein. Der Körper schon total entstellt. Egal, wer braucht es?